crowd had gathered on the parade ground, proud families holding candles and flowers, but no one noticed a thin man standing alone near the back. His coat was worn, his boots had split at the seams, and his hands trembled from years of cold nights. Still, his eyes stayed fixed on one cadet marching in a flawless straight line. The man whispered his name with a quiet pride that felt almost unreal after everything he had lost. His son was about to graduate, and nothing in the world could keep him away from this moment. Asterisk, asterisk, what city are you watching from today? If this story resonated with you, hit subscribe for more real stories about extraordinary people. His name was Daniel Hayes, once a decorated soldier, now a homeless veteran with no home, no income, and no place that carried his name. He had spent the last year drifting from shelter to shelter after life hit him harder than any battlefield had. But today he walked miles to reach the Naval Academy grounds. He had no invitation card, no seats reserved for him, and no family badge that allowed access to the front rows. He did not care. He only wanted to see his son receive his commission. Daniel kept his distance, afraid his presence might ruin the proud image his son had built. The last time they spoke, Nathan was still in high school, frustrated by the chaos that war had burned into his father. Daniel left before the boy could say the words that stayed trapped in his eyes. He believed his son deserved better than a man who could not outrun his wounds. Now he stood behind strangers, hoping Nathan might glance his way only once. The graduation ceremony began. Names were called, ranks were announced, and applause swept across the field in waves. Daniel clapped softly with the crowd, even when people nearby shifted away after noticing the dirt on his clothes. Some whispered about him, assuming he was trespassing or looking for handouts. A group of young officers muttered insults under their breath, insulting his smell and his appearance. Daniel ignored them. He had trained himself to survive words sharper than bullets. Then a stern voice called, "Officer Candidate Nathan Hayes." Daniel straightened his back with the last bit of strength he had. Nathan marched forward with confidence, his uniform crisp and his eyes filled with determination. He accepted his commission with a salute that reminded Daniel of his own graduation decades earlier. It felt like life completing a circle he once believed was broken forever. After the ceremony ended, families rushed forward to hug their new officers. Daniel stayed in the shadows, watching Nathan shake hands with fellow cadets. Pride swelled in his chest, but the weight of shame held him in place. He was turning to leave quietly when a commanding presence walked past the crowd. A Navy Admiral, towering in discipline, paused mid-step. His eyes locked onto Daniel, as if he had recognized a ghost. The Admiral stepped closer, frowning with focus, scanning Daniel from head to toe. Daniel lowered his head, worried he might be removed from the grounds. Then the Admiral noticed the faded tattoo on Daniel's forearm. It was almost hidden under dirt and torn fabric, but its symbol was unmistakable. It belonged to a classified special operations unit, known only among the highest ranks. The Admiral's demeanor changed instantly. He reached out and pulled Daniel's sleeve higher, confirming the ink that time could not erase. His voice trembled with respect as he spoke the words that froze everyone nearby. "You served in Gladiator Unit 7. The young officers who had mocked Daniel earlier stared in disbelief. They knew the legends. Gladiator Unit 7 was the team that never failed a mission and carried out operations that saved entire battalions. Members of that unit were considered giants among warriors. Few were still alive. Daniel stood silent, unsure whether to speak or run. The Admiral straightened his posture and saluted him with absolute formality, turning every curious head around them. For the first time in many years, Daniel felt seen in the light he once lived in. People watched in awe as the Admiral asked him how long he had been out and why no one knew he was here. Daniel answered honestly. He had fallen on hard times and did not want to be a burden to his son. The Admiral called over one of his aides and spoke in a tone that carried authority across the grounds. "Get this man a fresh uniform, medical evaluation, and a guest card. He attends the officer reception as an honored veteran." No one questioned the order. Before Daniel could protest, Nathan turned around and noticed a commotion. His eyes widened when he recognized the familiar face beneath the years of hardship. He pushed through the crowd and stopped in front of his father. Nathan looked stunned, not because of Daniel's condition, but because the Admiral himself stood at Daniel's side. Nathan spoke with a voice full of emotion. "Dad, why did you stay so far away?" Daniel felt tears rise, but he kept his voice steady. "I did not want to embarrass you." Nathan shook his head firmly. "You could never embarrass me. You are the reason I stood on that stage today." People watched as father and son embraced, not with hesitation, but with the certainty that time could not break their bond. Officers who mocked Daniel earlier stood with lowered eyes. The Admiral placed a hand on Nathan's shoulder and said with pride, "Your father is one of the finest soldiers this nation has ever seen. Any man would be honored to stand beside him." The reception that followed felt unreal to Daniel. For the first time in years, he sat at a table with dignity, receiving respect instead of suspicion. Nathan stayed close, introducing him to classmates and telling stories he never had the chance to share before. Daniel realized that the battlefield had taken much from him, but it could not erase who he truly was. When the sun began to set, Nathan spoke with quiet sincerity. "Come home with me. I want you in my life." Daniel hesitated for a heartbeat, then nodded with a warmth he thought he had lost forever. The world had shown him harshness, but his son offered something far stronger. He offered a place to belong. The moral of Daniel's story is simple. A uniform can be stripped away, a home can be lost, and years can fall into darkness. But honor remains in the heart of those who never stop fighting for what they love. Sometimes all it takes is one person to remind us that we are worth far more than our scars. What did this story make you feel? Where are you watching from? Subscribe to Soul Relief Stories for more real stories that heal the heart.